The next Warhammer Preview takes place at the Nova Open 2023 in Washington, DC, taking place on the 30th or 31st of August, depending on your positioning on our big blue ball. It covers a whole host of game systems, and in this video I'm going to be poking at some roadmaps, checking out some potato can picks, and taking a guess at what we can expect. So if you've seen any of my content before, you know that the grim darkness of the far or semi-far future is not really my shtick. So I don't waste the time of you sci-fi types, I'm gonna do these first and I'm gonna keep them nice and brief. The Space Marines may be the Emperor's finest super soldiers, but they're also super delicious. As the Tyranids won the global battling poll for the Battle of Oghram, we've already seen what they had to offer. But poised on the loser's bench, situated inside the belly of a massive Tyranid organism, sits a whole host of Space Marines waiting to be revealed. We can almost definitely expect to see these reinforcements revealed here, and given the sizable 40k roadmap and the promise of new models for all factions, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a glimpse of something for someone else as well. Alright, hands up, my Horus Heresy knowledge is pants. I love the books, but no time wasting, I'm gonna guess we're probably gonna see that Primarch. Alright then, Dawnbringers, Greenskins, and Flesh Eaters. Autumn officially starts in like a minute or so, and we've got 3 months to cram 2 Dawnbringer books in alongside the Cities of Sigmar release. Expect a full reveal of Book 2 along with some additional Orc-y goodness to go alongside the chunky Battle Pig and the Ardboy Big Boss already revealed. Kind of expect the details of Book 3 to be held back a little bit further just to help build up the hype for Book 2. However, we may see them updated on a roadmap with an image to tease us. That said, and this is a spoiler alert, a potato camera spoiler alert, what appear to be new Crypt ghouls have hit the interwebs. Now these landed about 10 days ago at the time of recording, and were said to be purchased for £1 English at the Twin Oaks car boot sale in Chesterfield. I don't know if American viewers have car boot sales, but you basically rock up with your car and you sell stuff out your boot in like a car park or a field. Anyway, this location's about an hour's drive from Games Workshop HQ, and you can make of this story what you will. The sprue has enough nods to the original Crypt Ghoul kit for me to think it is probably an update to this particular kit rather than a new unit. However, it is notable for being able to equip them with halberds, swords, and even a full command group. These ghouls are going to scuttle along with banners waving and a nifty drumbeat. Now, given this leak, they may be revealed here just to jump ahead of the hype, but I still wouldn't be totally shocked if Games Workshop held onto their original plans and maybe revealed these as part of Book 3, or we've been expecting Effect Book to turn up at some point as the army book that's been touted for winter. Further afield, and this is massive pinches of salt at this point, there have been rumblings that Skaven may get an appearance in the next edition of Age of Sigmar. And whether a rumour or just common sense, it does make a load of sense. They've got the oldest existing minis featuring in Age of Sigmar at the moment, and they're a really characterful part of Warhammer lore. This 4th edition of Age of Sigmar lands in 2024 and will follow the Dawnbringers narrative. At the aforementioned bargain sprue boot sale in Chesterfield, another sprue was revealed and potato cammed. In fact, another 2, but one of those was just the old Toonkin's chariot. It was a Pegasus, clearly denoted with Bretonnian iconography and missing a rider, and it seems to just be the one, so it's very likely to be a special character for the Bretonnians. I'd expect this to turn up in the potential launch box, specifically not saying starter box, because that's not a thing for this, they've clarified. And I really do expect something with Tomb Kings versus Bretonnians. Potato cam aside, if this wasn't leaked, I would have expected to see a resin creature or character for the Tomb Kings in line of old Dukey Shortass, the Bretonnian character that we saw last time. If we assume that Games Workshop have very little control as to that leak that happened at the boot sale and it all sounds a bit fishy, then perhaps we will still see something that they intended on this day. Finally, what I'd love to see is the full plastic kits. We've seen renders for multi-part plastic kits such as Foot Knights, and I'd really love to see a roadmap so we can know when we're expecting the Old World to hit. We know we're getting 4 warbands for Warcry in autumn, 2 for Order and 2 for Destruction. We've already seen 1 for each in the form of the Monster Killers for the Crawl Boys and the Wilder Core Hunters for the Cities of Sigmar. If the old Warcry map that I've spent oodles of time staring at still has any value, we could attribute these 2 warbands to locations that already featured on there. Now the Crawl Boys are an absolute shoo-in for the edition that came late in the last run of books, in Grozic's Gouge on the map, which was described as a pit-fighting arena of sorts where the Crawl Boys would throw in victims to duel different monsters, and these guys are monster hunters. Additionally, the Wilder Core could be situated at the only Cities of Sigmar camp that's still functioning on the map, which is Strongpoint Ptolemy. Or as an alternative angle, they could be seeking out Ventalik's camp, the ill-named Camp Fortune. So attributing locations to existing warbands does cross out a whole host of locations on the map. And I can also rule out some of them where they've carried the narrative forward but don't necessarily point to a strict warband location. Doing this does give us 3 potentials for destruction warbands if they're going to be adhering to this map. That would be Ogre Moor Tribes at the Eater Pits, which would have an Ogre Butcher focus, Cracktooth Gulch, which would have an Ironjaws focus, and the Great Stinkhorn, which has already been linked to the Gloomspite Gits via White Dwarf. Now, another destruction potential was the Spinecrawler webs. However, in the flavor text they did describe these as non-arachnid, and there was no mention of grots there, so my hopes for Spider Fang may be nullified. I'm still hopeful though. Come on, Spider Riders. So for order, we've got a lot less to pull from. So we've already got Camp Fortune, which was abandoned or destroyed. We've got Strong Point Tolomar, which may be linked to the Wildercore. And then the only other one remaining that's obviously linked to order and not already ticked off on the map is Slayer's Cliff. Now this is linked to the Stormcast of the Astral Templars, and whilst it might be interesting to see some Stormhost specific Stormcast models, I don't think we're going to see some more Stormcast at this point. With that in mind, I'm more inclined to have a look at the other Order factions, specifically those that haven't had additional White Dwarf rules, and because we're in the Narwood and it is a forest, albeit a meaty forest, I'm going to go just with the punt and say Sylvaneth, because that would be really cool. Outside of warbands, I'm really hankering for a Tome of Champions, which is the Warcry version of an annual and compiled lots of different rules and stats for missing warbands and fighters. Additionally, I wouldn't be massively surprised if we got a Ravaged Land box, and that's an expansion just on the scenery, and it would be a great place for somebody to go if they picked up the fairly scenery light starter set that's come out recently. So there's a new core box due in autumn for Warhammer Underworlds, and I would expect to see that fully revealed here. Now, they've not teased the factions for this one, but we have had a Death and a Chaos warband with a Destruction warband on the way. And given the proliferation of Order factions in these starter boxes, it's very, very likely we're going to have an Order warband as one of these two. To be honest, what I'd like to see most is perhaps another Cities of Sigmar warband, one that they've held back that's going to sneak in that book and they can just reveal it quickly before people get their hands on it. As for the opponent, I'm inclined to lean towards Nurgle. Now, it's been a little while before Nurgle's had a warband. We haven't had a Nurgle warband that's leaned to the demonic side of things, and that's where I'm throwing my bet. However, I personally can't get enough of Skaven in Underworld, so I would also, love to see a Clan Skyr or Clan Moulder pop up there, but it feels unlikely with Pestilence having just been announced. Now for the Destruction warband, the only sub-faction that I can identify that's missing from Destruction, if you ignore the Gargants, who are just way too big, aside from that one spin-off in White Dwarf, we are missing the Spider Fang Grots, and they just feel like perhaps the most likely thing to turn up if you picked something that was missing. Now sometimes it is random and they'll just do a second unit of Clan Grots or something. However, I'm going to go with Spider Fang. There's no evidence for this, there's no rumour engines supporting it. I would just love to see them, and they are absent from Underworlds. So Blood Bowl's always a bit weird and wacky and hard to predict, but gazing at my old metal models and noting G-Dub's love of sculpting vampires at the moment, I'm going to go with the Vampire Counts team. Failing that, this is my left field wildcard option. I would love to see the Chaos Dwarfs return with their big, gigantic hats. So thank you for watching. Let me know your predictions in the comments, and if you're right, we can collectively scream your name to the sky and then dine on pizza in your honour. Or just be like, oh yeah, well done. You got that one. Nice. Cheers.